Hello, everybody. This is Alejandra Campos from Campos Law Firm. We have today our lawyers that specialize in criminal and also in immigration. And we wanted to talk to Jonathan and Kayla and find out, give us an example of what's going on immigration. Let's start with you, Jonathan.
Yes. So one case that I've had is with a client from Mauritania, and he was detained in the summer of last year. He was doing everything right, but when he went to one of his appointments, he was detained. So we immediately began representing him in detention and finding solutions for him. We first requested a bond, but at the time it was denied on jurisdiction. But then we proceeded to go forward with his case and had an individual merits hearing on his case. And he was actually granted asylum, which was great. But unfortunately, the fight didn't stop there. And DHS appealed the decision, which kept him in detention. But after filing the appeal, the Board of Immigration Appeals hadn't set a filing deadline, so he was in a little bit of a state of limbo. So what we had to do was we had to file a habeas corpus, which it was one of the first ones that we filed, and we got it processed, and the judge came back with a favorable ruling on the habeas, and we were able to get a bond hearing for him, which was secured and ordered by the federal court. And he was granted bond and was able to work to get his bond posted, and he was released. At first, they had him on an ankle monitor, but I just found out last week that he went to an ISAP appointment and they took off his ankle monitor. So we're still waiting for the appeal for the asylum to process, but I'm very confident in winning that. I've already prepared the appeal, so it's ready to file as soon as they set a briefing schedule. But definitely a huge victory. He's out of detention, and he was recently in my office, and we were talking about kind of things to do moving forward for his immigration case. So.
That's very nice. Well, that's a perfect example of how people that persevere, right? And if they follow our advice, if they had a good case, we actually are able to help them, right? Because how long was he in detention?
He was in detention for over 6 months. So it was a long time. I met with him many, many times in detention. We have an excellent interpreter from Mauritania who's fluent in both English and Pular and Arabic. And so he goes with me, and we're able to have many meetings at the detention center. But it was a long time. And, the thing for me is even after winning asylum, the fight was not over, and we had to keep pushing forward and using all the tools we have available, and we were able to get him out of detention.
Thank you so much for that example. So right now we were talking outside of the camera of how we are receiving a lot of motion to predetermined, right? And unfortunately, when they submit those motions, sometimes we cannot fight the asylum because we are now fighting whether they are sent to a third country or whether they get voluntary departure. What is your advice for everybody that is in this process right now and receive a motion to predetermine?
Yes, unfortunately, the government is doing everything they can to make the process for asylum very difficult and in some ways taking it away right now. I do question the constitutionality of the motion to preterm it. However, it is going forward right now, and judges are granting this motion because the Board of Immigration Appeals has taken away a lot of their authority. So the most important thing, if you get a motion to preterm it, is to contact an attorney to look for alternative forms of relief. Because if the motion to preterm it is granted and you don't have any other potential forms of relief, they will issue a removal order to a third country, which is a situation that I don't think anyone wants to be in. However, I've had many cases recently where we've been able to proactively submit some sort of visa application or alternative forms of relief, and the judge, even after granting, excuse me, the motion to preterm it, did not issue a removal order because there was something potentially available.
Excellent. Can you please tell us what kind of what is different forms of relief so that our audience can understand a little? What is that they should be looking for? What is out there?
Yeah, there's different visa options in terms of T visas, if you were the victim of some sort of trafficking, U visas if you were a victim of a crime here in the United States. There are different adjustment opportunities with waivers available from USCIS if you are married to a U.S. citizen or have a child who's a U.S. citizen over the age of 21, and you might not be aware that some of these options are available, and at least getting something filed or submitted is much better in terms of going to the immigration court and saying we have something potentially available rather than saying we haven't done anything and it's much more speculative.
And I think that's the key, right? People think that sometimes, oh, I went to a lawyer and they told me I don't qualify because I entered illegal, so my wife cannot petition me. Yes, that's true. You will not be able to adjust within the United States, but you can do, a consular processing where you are able to adjust eventually. What immigration judges are looking for right now is a form of relief, even though it will take time, right? And people sometimes don't imagine that they can qualify for a U visa, for example. I mean, they don't understand that even if a dog bites you, you probably were victim of a crime and you are able to qualify for a U visa. That's why it's so important that you actually call a lawyer and tell us your case. When you tell us your story, then we are trying to find ways. Maybe when you tell us that you were working for an employer that didn't pay you, that they tried to retain your documents, that they abused you, or that they put you to work in horrible conditions, or that they were threatening you with immigration. And just for that, we are able to get for you a T visa. So we need to hear your story so that we can try. We are the experts, the lawyers, and what we are trying to do is that how we can put you in a different form of relief so that you don't suffer the risk of a motion to predetermine, right?
Yes.
So, Kaylan, thank you so much, Jonathan. So, Kaylan, now please tell us one case that you did recently, and what is the advice for all the audience?
So I had a felony charge. It was a class 3 felony, which faces a potential maximum penalty of 4 to 12 years in prison. Felonies are rated on a class 1 felonies, which is first degree murder, all the way to class 6 felonies, which is the lowest level of felony before you go into misdemeanors. So they were right in the middle there, and we were able to look at the evidence that the prosecutor had and find out that our client was drastically overcharged. They did not actually have an identity on our client, and what they were alleging happened was a burglary. They didn't have a solid identity on our client. They said that he was a Hispanic male at a mall, and there's a lot of people that go to the mall that can match that description. So it was very much a case of profiling by the police, and we were able to get the charges drastically reduced to a petty offense, which was immigration safe, and help our client avoid any jail time or prison time, and keep them eligible for the relief they were applying for on the immigration front. So it was the prosecutor had overcharged them because they thought they could get away with it. And before we had entered the picture, they were trying to get him to plead to a felony. And they weren't turning over his evidence, and they were giving him a hard time. And then we got involved, and we were able to kind of talk to them and say what's going on here, talk to the prosecutor and say what's going on here, and we got the charges drastically reduced. So I mean, it's sometimes it's not a full dismissal. I think we could have gotten there, but the client wanted to play it safe. But I think it's very important you talk to a lawyer, because a lot of the time when you're a lay person, when you're someone on the sidewalk, when you're someone that gets charged with a crime, the prosecutors don't expect you to know your rights, and they don't expect you to be able to stand up for those rights. When a lawyer becomes involved and you talk to a lawyer, suddenly you start to realize, potential defenses to a crime and potential avenues to defend against your case that you may not otherwise know. And so it's very important when you're charged not to, the penalties are severe and they're significant, but really talk to a lawyer to get a good idea of what the prosecutor actually has. Because just because they charge you with something doesn't always mean they can prove it.
That's very important, right?
Yeah.
And that is a good advice, because you are telling them just because you were charged doesn't
Yeah.
mean that you are going to be convicted
Right.
on those charges.
Right.
They need to prove it. And sometimes people get so scared, and they are right now they are afraid to go to court. They are missing courts because of their immigration status, and they don't know, they don't understand, if they don't go to court, they are automatically guilty.
Right.
Right? So
Right.
you cannot do that in any court.
Yeah. No.
Not even criminal or immigration, right? I mean, we need to continue going to court. What you need to do is that you need to hire a lawyer. You should not be going alone. The consequences could be really hard for you, very devastated, and you should try to hire a lawyer as soon as possible, as soon as you know that you have a court, so that you have a lawyer with enough time to prepare your case, a lawyer that could understand. Sometimes they come and tell us, oh, I have a master hearing in 2 days, and we don't have time to find out that you had a criminal charge in 2024, right? Because you failed to mention it. So and then we go and help you, but we really cannot help you if we don't know. So the other advice for all of you is that you really need to hire a lawyer and tell us the truth. Don't say that we are not going to find out. We are working for you, but if we don't know, we cannot really help you the way that we should help you.
And a lot of clients find out they have a warrant because they hire us for immigration. So, immigration, they do the background checks and they run your record. They find out you had a warrant from years ago you didn't know about, right? And so there's a team here, there's a well-integrated team that can all work together and help you resolve that. So
that's true. And we take a lot of cases, and we are very successful with all of them, because we are a team of lawyers that are motivated, and that we really have passion to help you. And you do have the opportunity to make payment arrangements. The most important part is that you need to reach us for help, right? Is there anything else that you want to mention? Any last advice for everybody?
Well, I would say, just building off of your point, that we are very much in constant communication in the different departments. And here in the office, if I, on the immigration side, have a question about criminal matter, I can reach out to the criminal department and find answers, and vice versa. So the great news about working here at Campos is we have many attorneys that are experts in a variety of areas. So if you have both an immigration and a criminal matter, we can handle that.
Excellent. That's true. So we, especially on the criminal side and the implications on the immigration side, that's one of the expertise, right?
Yes.
To actually advise on those Miranda rights that you need to know. What are the implications? So just follow us in our website and give us a call, and keep yourself informed out there, and just give us a call for any questions. Thank you so much, and we see you later.
thank you.